I am Daniel Lucas, and welcome to Book 101. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years, and today I have my special guest. He's the author of the book Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer, the journey that changed my life, and the lessons I've learned that can change yours. No other than Mr. John Petrelli.
How are you doing, Daniel? Thank you for having me on here, buddy. Look forward to talking with you.
Yes, and of course, thank you for your time, Mr. John. And I'm very grateful that you have time for this podcast. So, can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm John Petrelli. I wrote the book Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer, but for the last 30 years, I've been a fitness trainer, and I've had a pretty wild journey from growing up in a small farm town in upstate New York to getting arrested as a youth and having my life change into taking from society, being selfish, to helping people, to getting paralyzed in 2021 and getting inspired to write my memoir, The Journey of My Life, in order to help other people, called Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer. So that's a long intro, but that's my.
Sounds interesting, Mr. John. If you will define life as, what is it?
Oh, life is ever growing, my friend. Life is evolving. Life is something you can't capture between your fingers because it's elusive. We never stay the same. Nothing stays the same. You're either growing or you're dying. So life for me is continual growth until that ends and I move on to the next realm. That's what life means to me.
Very well said, Mr. John. How did you learn how to write a book?
So I wrote my memoir, which is crazy because I, as a kid, had dyslexia, and I literally had horrible grades throughout high school, and teachers passed me just so they wouldn't have to see me anymore. So I say that because I want other people to know that if I can do this, you can do anything. And how did I come about writing the book is in 2021, I came down with a very rare autoimmune disorder, and I went into the ICU for 10 days and became fully paralyzed. And in the time that I was in there, I listened to a lot of inspirational stuff, and a book was one of them. And it inspired me to go, how can I help other people, inspire them in whatever their challenge is, whatever their journey is. So for the next 3 months, while I was in rehab and trying to get my physicality back, I came out in a wheelchair. I took things that I had written throughout my life and I started compiling them, and I contacted an editor for a book I listened to and sent him that stuff, and he agreed to work with me, and we wrote my life's memoir, and that's how I wrote. So that's the first thing I ever wrote. It became an Amazon #1 new release, and I really want just to reiterate that if I can do that in that time, that if you ever want to write a book, you absolutely can do it if you're willing to put the work in and be consistent with it.
Congratulations, Mr. John. So, who are your favorite authors that influence you the most?
Yeah, so boy, I can go through people that have influenced me, and some are authors and some are not. One of the people that inspired me, who is actually a screenwriter, is a guy named John August. And he, if you look him up, has written many different things. And I got to know him personally, and he's just an eloquent, caring person. And he inspired me to look into the world of writing. Another person that inspired me is a person that worked on my book, which many people may not know, but he's a great individual. His name is Scott Burr, and he helped craft and help navigate me through the journey of writing my memoir. And I personally read a lot of autobiographies, and so the different ones that have inspired me is David Goggins. is I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one. It is You Can't Hurt Me was one of my biggest inspirations.
Interesting indeed, Mr. John. If you describe the writing of your favorite authors, what is it or what are they?
Yeah, so I feel like they help uplift people. They give them inspiration. They spark your mind and creativity. They bring you to places that maybe you are a little uncomfortable going. And the things that inspire me about different writers and authors is, man, they have this knack for making you want to turn the next page. You want to turn the next page to find out what's going on. They fully just capture you and pull them in that world that they've created with you.
So they believe it's in a saying that it happened for a reason.
Yeah, it happened for a reason. So for me, if you asking about if it happened for a reason in regards to what happened to me, absolutely. In fact, I tell people what happened to me didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And it happened for me because I would have never had the inspiration to write a book unless that what people may quote unquote say is a tragedy happened, ended up being a blessing. So yeah, it happened for me.
It's a blessing indeed, I think, right, Mr. John?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Daniel. Absolutely.
Probably, if so, let's say if you go back and you did not experience that tragedy in your life, what do you think? Where are you now?
Yeah, I wouldn't be in this place right now talking to you. I wouldn't be in a place where, I had someone just recently, 2 weeks ago, contact me from prison that read my book and got a hold of my book and said when he gets out, he is inspired to change his life. I've been contacted by people that have the same autoimmune disorder that I did or a family member did, which is called Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS. And it inspired them to go, hey, if he made it through this and can come back from being paralyzed, so can I. So it absolutely happened for me. I can't take it back either way. So I might as well own it. It's a thread of who I am, it's part of my fabric now. And so I'd rather own it and have it empower me and have it help and empower other people.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. John, are you fully recovered to that syndrome?
Yeah, it's a great question, Daniel. So I still don't have full feeling in my feet. My vision was compromised from it, but I'm never going to complain. I'm about 98% healed up. And so I feel like I'm blessed whether those ailments leave me or not, because I know when I was in the ICU and I was walking through there, they wheelchaired me through there, that there were other individuals that weren't going to make it out of there. So I may never be fully recovered, but I'm certainly happy, and you'll never find me complaining about anything because you know the original question you asked me, Daniel, is what life means and what life is to me. And life is very short, and I don't take it for granted anymore. And I feel like it's all a blessing, from talking to you right now to writing a book to just telling someone that I care about that I love them.
Yes, to inspire people all over the world, it's something else. And people, life is too short. So seize your day every day.
Yes. Yeah.
Tell us about working with a Grammy Award winning and Hollywood actors.
Yeah. So I became a fitness trainer. And on that journey of being a health coach and a fitness trainer, I thought that I was going to be in the business of helping people. And what I found looking back is they helped me as much as I helped them. And whether it's a celebrity or a professional athlete or a housewife, one thing I found over 30 years of helping people is that we all have a common thread of humanity. We all want to be loved. We want to love people. We want to feel like we belong. We all have these common things. So I got to work with many celebrities. I got to work with Grammy Award winning artists, but we're all just human beings. And we all have our challenges. We all have our bad days, our bad moments, and we all are looking for growth. So it is unique in a way that a kid from a farm town in upstate New York that was working in horse barns, that was shoveling cow manure and baling hay, could find his way to Hollywood, could work with, celebrities and professional athletes. But once again, everything is literally possible. Everything is literally possible. At 18 years old, I got arrested for violence. I went to jail, and I worked my way out of that and was able to make my dreams come true and get into the business of inspiring and helping people, whether it's in book form or in physical form.
Yes, very well said, Mr. John. But before we go on, I want to shout out to the people listening to these countries. According to my ranking tops in the last 30 days, on my Apple chart. In Zimbabwe, I got number 8 on my Apple chart. Thank you, Zimbabwe. Norway at number 12. United Arab Emirates at number 21. Nepal at 27. Chile at number 40. Egypt at number 66. Zambia at 114. South Africa 135. Canada at 141. Mongolia at 165. Ireland at 173. Hong Kong at 175, Algeria at 187, Libya at 192, India at 213, Turkey at 215, and last but not least, Jordan at 249. Thank you so much for supporting this podcast, because this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world.
Yeah, that's amazing, buddy. Congratulations. What an awesome accomplishment. Without someone like you, Daniel, offering us a platform to get our word out, my story would die right here. So I am very grateful. And although you had very high numbers and all those other ones, you're number one in my book.
Thank you so much for supporting this podcast. As I said, this podcast is created to empower writers all over the world, like Mr. John Petrelli. So, confession of a Hollywood trainer, the journey that changed my life and the lesson I've learned that can change yours. How did you craft it?
Yeah, so I started crafting it, number one, in my mind. I started crafting it when originally, not knowing it would be a book one day, I was traveling with an artist. I was traveling with a stand-up comedian named Sebastian Maniscalco. And I was on 120 flights a year traveling internationally wherever he performed. And instead of just watching movies on the plane, I said, let me start just writing my life stories down. And that's where it started in its infancy, its childhood stages. You would say infancy, you could write a book. So that's where it started. And then when I came home from the ICU a couple years later, and I could hardly move, I said, I need to do something with my mentality, with my mind, in order to fill my mind with positive things. So I started putting music on that really hits my soul, like Bob Marley. And I started typing when my hands were working these different journeys in my life. And that's how it got crafted into a book. It literally started from that.
Wow, interesting indeed, Mr. John. Let's say reincarnation. Do you like the same life that you have right now?
Daniel, that's an awesome question. I've never been asked that. Yeah, you know, there's a few things I would change, but they wouldn't be actions. They would be verbalizations. Because at a certain point in my life, I had too much ego. I had not enough self-esteem, and I didn't really tell people how I felt about them. And even though I cared about them, my ego wouldn't allow me to do that. But I would come back as myself, and I would be a little bit kinder. I would be a little bit more helpful. I would do things maybe a little bit differently, but I would love to take the same path and just have that journey be a little bit smoother for other people. But I wouldn't change much other than that.
So, do you think you are a better person comparing 10 years before?
100%. I hope I'm a better person than I was yesterday. I don't compare myself to anybody else, any other individual. I can't control what other people do. But I wake up every day with the intention of being better than I was yesterday. And I'm always trying to learn. And a huge part of that for me is listening to books, reading books. As a teenager, I didn't read much. In my 20s, I didn't read much. And now that I'm 51 years old, I'm really trying to make up for lost time. And I absolutely always have multiple books in my library on Audible. I have hard copy books that I read. I love to hear other people's journeys. I love to get inspired by what they can create. And so, yeah, I feel like I always just want to be better than I was yesterday, and learning every day is a huge part of that.
Yes. And according to Miss Nicole R, authentic, interesting, entertaining, and inspiring. So, what are the elements that you put in your book that make your readers glued to it?
Great question. Um, the elements I put in there were just my life, and I've had a crazy life. From I was a bodyguard for Michael Jordan. I worked with a guy named Derek Jeter, who is a baseball player. I grew up. My parents are immigrants from Italy, and I'm first generation American. From getting arrested and having that dark side of my life to having an absolutely helpful, inspiring individual that had his own challenges, that changed my life by simply allowing me a place to sleep at his house. And he allowed me to sleep on the floor in his house. And it changed my life, to giving CPR to someone that had a heart attack, and, um, going through all the things of that, to being paralyzed, to going on international tours with celebrities, to just being a human, to finding out that I need to contribute to society, and how I can do that on a bigger and bigger scale all the time. Um, if you find any of that interesting, that's what my book's about. It's about my life in the most authentic way I can put it. And things that I was ashamed of, things that brought me shame for many years that I was so afraid to talk about. I just try to be as honest as I can and go, look, we're all human beings. We've all made mistakes. And now I want to use these things that I did in the past that were very shameful to change and inspire, to help me understand the difference between right and wrong, and to help other people potentially relate to that may be in a dark place in their life. So there's many incidents of things like that in my book. And if you like the human element, if you like someone that's brutally honest and can point out and shine the flashlight on things that he did wrong in his life, I think you'll find and benefit and get something out of this book.
Indeed. So, Mr. John, can you share to us a brutally honest that you shared in the book?
Yeah. So I'll touch on this one, Daniel. It's a great question. And it was a pivotal point in my life. There was an incident when I was 18 years old. And I wish I could tell you it was the last time something like this happened, but it was one where I started changing my life, where I got into a confrontation with an individual. And unfortunately, I struck that individual, and I feel regret to this day, and they almost died. And when that happened, somebody grabbed me from behind, and I turned around to engage that person. And unfortunately for me, it was a police officer. And I ended up striking a police officer, an undercover police officer. And I had shame about that for so long. I felt shame about what I did to that individual. Um, I still ask for forgiveness. But that was my rock bottom. And it helped start turning my life around. It helped shining a light on the focus that I had to have in regards to giving back as opposed to taking.
At least, Mr. John, you showed to the world that you repent of what you did and you are giving a shine or a portal, a guidance to be a better person.
Thank you, man. I appreciate your uplifting words. It's very kind. So that is a raw, very, just brutally honest thing that happened to me. There's much more detail about it. And, you know, um, I take full responsibility for everything I've done in my life. And I just try to be better.
Yes, indeed. And according to Miss Rosemary, authentic.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you, Rose.
definitely authentic.
Thank you. That's very kind.
And according to Miss Mr. Roger Star, inspiring, relatable, and fun read. What are the relatable story that you shared in the book, Mr. John?
Sure. Well, I found the love of my life in the book. We talk about that, and we have kids, and just being open to having people enter your life, right? Surrounding yourself with people that are going to uplift you, may not always agree with you, tell you when you're wrong. Um, I get into that your thoughts, whatever you think every day ends up being your reality. Whatever habits you do every day make up your life. Who you surround yourself with are a huge part of who you become. And what is your plan? Like, we all want to go from point A to point D or whatever that is. What's your plan, and how are you going to get there, and what's the healthiest way to get there? Because mental health is just as important, if not more important, than physical health.
Yes, and according to Miss Jenna McCarthy, an absolute masterpiece. Wow, I love this comment, Mr. John.
And she is an inspiring author. That right there, that review is from Jenna McCarthy, who is a great author in her own right. And I feel blessed that she picked up my book time and took the time to read it and actually write a review. And I'm reading one of her books right now called The Size of Everything, and it is an awesome book. And I'm nowhere near in her league. She's a truly inspiring author.
Mr. John, are you writing another book at this time?
I'm in the works of formulating another book because I was so raw in regards to the first book I wrote. And I needed to capture where I really was at that point in my life, at different points in my life. And at points in my life, I would use vocabulary that was a lot of swearing and there was a lot of violence in there. So, what I want to do is write a younger kid's version of this where it can be appropriate for someone of a younger age. So I'm in the works of putting that together. I have an affinity for kids. I have an affinity for older people, and sometimes these groups can be forgotten about. So I want to help. I also have an affinity for rescuers, for law enforcement, for nurses and doctors, and I'm putting together something in a book, some way that can help them.
So, Mr. John, before we go on, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, Food 101, our third season with Chef Alessandro, one of the best executive chef in one of the best restaurant in downtown Toronto. And please do listen to our latest episode. We talk about grissini. Grissini, people, one of the trademark of Italian cuisine. Plus one more, our books are available on Amazon, not only one but seven volumes, people. It's all about how to create a delicious food. So please do grab a copy. Food 101, Volume 1 Basics until Volume 7. Thank you for supporting my podcast, Food 101, because we got our 1 million downloads and we're looking for our 2 million downloads. Thank you so much. Mr. John, Confession of a Hollywood Trainer. If you want to go back and revise the book itself, which part of the book you want to revise?
None of it. I don't want to revise any of it. It is, in its essence, what it's supposed to be, and whether nothing is perfect. And so I don't want to go back and revise anything. I learn from even my mistakes to be better. I put those tools in my tool belt and I move forward. Right now, I don't want to revise any of it. I want it to lay as it is. It's got its own breath, its own life, and it's just an honest account of what I've done so far in my life.
Yes, Confession of a Hollywood Trainer was the best highlight.
We all learn from everything we do in life, or you should. If you make a mistake, what you consider as a failure is not really a failure. It's really just you getting data that you may need to change some things and you need to learn. Take the tools that you get from every life event, put them in your tool belt, and move forward to be better than you were yesterday. That is the highlight of it, that everything is possible. If I can write a best-selling #1 Amazon release, you can clearly do more than that. with all the limitations I've had in my life, if I can do these things, you can inspire, you can write, you can help millions of people, just as you are, Daniel, with your podcast. So my takeaway is that we are all capable of so much more than we probably believe. And it's upon us to share that beauty with the world, to share your gift for the world, your own unique gift, because we are all special in our own unique way. Find your passion and share that with the world, and you'll get paid back tenfold.
Yes, very well said, Mr. John. I love it. Are your tips for those people around the world that having this, let's say, depression in their life?
Oh, it's a great question, Daniel. I would say be as kind to yourself as you would be to other people. I'm not saying don't hold yourself to a high standard, but be as kind to yourself as you would be to other people, and set yourself up with a routine that will put you in a better mental state. It's just every day I wake up and I have gratitudes and I say prayers and I do a breathing, a type of breathing called Wim Hof breathing. And I really set my intentions forward. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. There's nothing saying that I'm going to wake up or you're going to wake up tomorrow. So I'm super grateful every day that I do wake up. And now, what is my plan to give back in that day? So just as you would go to the gym to work your body, it doesn't take one time you go to the gym and you have the perfect body that you want. And it's the same with your mind. Set yourself up with a daily routine that's healthy, that's repeatable, and then it puts you in a place that you can then go ahead and give to other people. Because if your cup is empty, you can't give anything. So fill your cup up with the things you need that nourish your soul, so then you can therefore give to other people.
Wow, inspiring. So, Confession of a Hollywood Trainer, you consider as your legacy?
You know, I consider it as part of my journey where I'm at here at 51 years old. And there's much more of this book that's my life that needs to be written. There's many more things that need to be done. So I consider a brick of my house, and the house is still being built. And I'm excited to see what the rest of that means. You know, a week ago, I had no idea, Daniel, that I'd be on this podcast with you, right? So this is now part of who I am. And we don't know who may listen to this podcast. It could be tomorrow, it could be 5 years from now, but it'll live on and hopefully help other people long after we're gone. So I don't know if it's my legacy, but it's part of who I am.
Yes, indeed. So, Mr. John, can you please invite our listeners to buy your book?
Yeah, absolutely. Number one, I'd be so honored if you took the time to read my book and got something positive from it. You can find it on Amazon, Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer. You can find it at my website, confessionsofahollywoodtrainer.com. Um, and I would be honored and grateful if you took some time and read it. And I can't really say much more than that. That's where you can find it. If you find some interest in anything that I said here today, if you want to know a lot more about my life and the details and the journey I took, it's all in there. Um, so, yeah, that's all I can say about that. Confessions of a Hollywood Trainer.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. John Petrelli. It's something else. It will inspire you, it will move you, and you will be better. So, Mr. John, what is your short term and long term goals in writing?
Yeah, so I find it so therapeutic for me to write. So, my short term goals are to always be creative, whether that's writing, whether that's drawing. I need to always have that outlet and being creative, whether that's talking to you, Daniel. So, my short term goals is to just be consistent and leave myself some time to write. And then my long term goals are to write a couple more books, get them out there, and just keep, putting it out there. In whether one person or a million people buy it, it doesn't really matter. I just want to go ahead and put my true stories on paper. Um, that's my goals.
What kind of books that you want to write?
I think there'll be more, uh, just memoirs. I want to put together a book, a concept I have, and feel free to steal it. Anybody out there, is people that have come through my life that inspired me. I have people from so many different walks of life, and I want to put together a book of what are the common threads that have made them successful, what have made them unique, and compile them in a book so people can have this condensed version of all different walks of life and how they were able to go through their journeys. So that's one of my things on my to-do list. That's one of the projects I'd love to do.
At your stage right now, are you still doing exercise?
100% physical movement and exercise will always be part of my life. I do martial arts every day, jiu-jitsu, boxing, things like that. I help people on their journey to wellness and health. I love being part of people's journey. I get a little insight on their life, where they're going, and hopefully get them the information they need to change their life, whether that's physically, mentally, spiritually, all those things. So I always believe that I'll be involved in that capacity because it's such a passion for me. It's such a passion to see people that are maybe down and out, that maybe have ailments, maybe have health concerns, and to find their solution, their own unique solution. For me to be part of their team is such an honor, and it's such an inspiration.
Thank you for your time, Mr. John.
You're welcome, Daniel. Thank you for taking the time and having the courage to invite me on here. I hope that we can help a lot of people. I just wanted to get this information out to everybody, and I'm truly grateful for you having me on here.
Modicon people, see you soon.